Hello there, guys. Welcome back. We're gonna start now with the second part of week two recording here now for the class. So let's start with this now. So at the moment I have the set brush already open, and again, if you don't have this, you can just click on this button here, and then it will populate that, which is the light box. This is just one of the features inside the software. Now, if you want to restart the software, you can just go into Preferences, hit Initialize Set Brush, say yes, and everything will be reinitialized, including this side here when all these tool sets. So now let's continue with this section here. So I'm gonna open. I don't know. We can choose another thing. So we can choose perhaps I don't know, this dog, for example. Okay, double click that, and you have this. Okay. Now the way model handling inside ZBrush, the way it works is this way. So pretty much you will have something in the viewport, or this model, what is supposed to be, or what is referred to as a set tool. Now that's a bit confusing, and I think I relate to that because when I started playing with the software at the beginning, I find that word quite confusing. If you come out from from Maya, you will see that is called a scene, and then you have a polygonal mesh or a polygon in the viewport. So here in ZBrush is another word that just, I think, software rivalry and proprietary things. They say, well, we're not going to call him a scene, we're not going to call him model, we're going to call him set mesh, or we're going to call him, I don't know, a set tool. So a set tool pretty much is the scene or the tool set that you're going to be working on. In this case, is this model. However, this model was created initially, there are many methods inside ZBrush. It could have been imported from another software and used here and sculpted, or it could have been created here from scratch. Okay, we don't know because obviously this is something that comes with ZBrush as it is. Now, if you want to see what the geometry of this, or the topology, or the quads look like, which is the polygons, you click this button here, and you can see that this is what we have now. So, obviously, if you were to detail this character, you will probably start using some of the brushes and start detailing the character as it is. Now, we haven't covered anything of the brushes, but I just want to go through first what the difference is between the subtool, the scene, a set project as well, or how to open, close projects, and so forth. So that is something that we're going to cover in this part, and then later on we're going to start working a little bit of how the methodology, or how the playing around with the brushes, and what can you do and what can you not do. So at the moment you can see that this model here looks fairly coarse, and you can see if I press Alt, click and drag here, and then let go of the Alt, I can zoom in. Okay, you can see that the character has a fairly good flow of topology. Okay, topology, I mean, when we mean topology, or in this case polyframe, you see they call it polyframe. Here we're calling another word topology. Is all these little squares ones here. These little squares, they obviously comprise of several elements. You know, this is, in Maya is called, this here is called the face. The lines here are called edges, and those red dots are called the points, or the vertex. Here they're called point, but they're vertex. So at the moment we know already we are. I'm gonna press F for framing. We are in 3D mode because we can do that. Okay, if we were in, we can verify here by the button edit that is on. So what I'm gonna cover now is what it is, the primitive, or what it is, the actual geometry. At the moment I have this. Okay, and this is what it's called a subtool, or it's called a Z tool when you save it. Okay, so when you save whatever you're working on here, and you save it, is called a Z tool. And the Z tool, okay, is everything you see in the viewport as it is, which could individually have sub tools. This is the word here, sub tools. So pretty much I can have the dog, I can have another dog here, or another version of the dog, and I can have another one version here. I can have a subtool that has, I don't know, a collar. I can have another subtool that has, I don't know, anything else, like the eyes, for example, or the teeth, or whatever stuff in the mouth, or the gum and all that. I can have another subtool. But when I save it, I save all this stuff together, and I'm going to demonstrate in a second. So again, when you save something here, it's called a Z tool. Okay, we're going to go through that in a second, how to save it. And then that Z tool could have several amounts of subtools. Okay, and we can probably demonstrate that quickly by going to, I'm going to go here into, I'm going to reinitialize again ZBrush, and I'm gonna choose one that has several subtools. So you go here, you can see I'm gonna open, I think it's this one, the demo soldier. This is very old, this model, so I'm gonna double click there. You can see that this model has quite a few things. Now if I click here, only one of the things, or one of the tools or subtools are gonna be colored. Okay, which that means is that all these elements are within the same subtool, but they are as a different subtool. Okay, Z tool and subtool are different. Z tool is the saving format, and subtool is a piece of geometry that is within here, and I can access individually. For example, if I click in here on this button, you can see that at the moment this is what we have selected, and you can see it there on the screen that is the demo soldier. Is called a subtool called demo soldier, and it has, and you can see here by the statistic, it has a 32,000 polygons, and it has nothing hidden and nothing hidden or hidden points. But ignore that for now. But you can see that this is the information about that. Now, if I click on this here, and you can see that now I don't have the color on this, I have the color on this, which means that that is the actual active subtool. Again, in Maya you will have, I don't know, all of them, but they all will be in the outliner, just one element at a time, one polyframe at a time. Here you can have it one within everything. So you can see that you can click here, you can see you can go through all of them. There are more efficient way of going through all these tab tools, but I'm going to show you later on while we go along. But here you can see that whatever I select get highlighted in color. That means that that's the one that if I start doing some work, that's the one that's going to be affected. These ones are not going to be affected. Okay, so however you populate this, again, there are several techniques you can choose. You can import, you can bring it, you can append them, you can insert them. We're going to go through that again, another point, don't worry about for now. But I want you to know now is that here we have whatever we have in the viewport is the active subtool you're working on, or the project, and that can have several subtools within. Okay, however you reach this point, we're going to go through that in the classes. Okay, but for now I want you to know that this is the way it's going to be working. Okay, so how do we save this? Okay, so again, the easier way to save something here in ZBrush is by using this menu here, which is the Save As. So you click here, Save As, and I think that went into my other screen. Let me see if I can drag it to there. You can see here that here, for example, I have this is my hard drive. I got this one here, and I go here. I got loads of subtools that I've been working on. Do you see the file format .ztl, which is a ZBrush tool or Z tool? So I can save this guy here called demo soldier.ztl, and it's a save as type Z tool. Okay, so I can save it there. I click save. Okay. Now let's say that you go stop working for the day, and you come back and you open ZBrush again, and then you start with it. You see there's nothing in here. So you start with this pop up like that, and you say, okay, I'm gonna continue working on my Z tool. Fine. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna click on the button that says load tool. So I'm gonna click load tool, which is another word for open the Z tool. So that one pops out here. I'm gonna scroll that down. I'm gonna look for the one that I just saw, which is this one, demo soldier. So I click here, open, and now nothing happens. Why it doesn't happen? Because we are in 2.5D. That is what you have to understand. The moment if I do this, yes, I draw that. I say, okay, I'm gonna start working. I'm gonna start rotating it. I can't, because every time I do that, it will keep drawing. Will keep drawing. The same problem that we had before at the beginning. What we have to do is, whatever we draw one, then we click edit, and that's the active one. You see, now this one is the one that's gonna be in 3D. And now we don't need any of this. In order to clear that, you press Control N and you clear the canvas. Then you press F if you want to sim it or to frame it. And then here, this is the default material. You can change the material here. We're gonna go through materials another point, but this is quite, at the moment, it's not important at the moment. So again, I press Shift, I can snap it there. Okay, I can press Alt, click to pan it, the camera. I can press Alt and let go of Alt, and I can zoom in and out. Okay, I can just rotate it. And again, this is what I'll be working on. Now I can go here into Set Tool, and I have all the Set Tools here open. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you the one that I've been working on, and I think some of my personal projects that I haven't finished, but I'm busy with other things. So I'm gonna reinitialize this. I can show you the other one. I'm pretty sure you're probably showing you by now in your first week, but I might show you that you can open it and save it. So So yes, to reinitialize, you see it clears everything, back to square one. I can go here, load tool. I'm gonna open this one. Again, seems like we did something, but no, you see this tool at the moment is 11 million polygons, okay? And you can see this one on top is the one that you have selected, the active subtool is 11 million. The other ones in total, sum of 17 million polygons. So again, if I click here, click and drag, okay? And I press edit, okay? And then I have this, okay? I press all, click, here, zoom in, and I can just zoom in and I can see this character. This is the character that I've been working on. So again, you can see this character has, this is the active, this here is the active set tool. So you have set tool, you can see that's the one active, the one I have visible. I got all the ones here, so if I click here, you can visualize it. You see, I got the skeleton there, got that one there, which is the skin. Then I have the paws, I think it is. If I press F, I can see them, yeah. Then I have the claws, okay. I have the teeth, and press F, you can see them, okay. Again, click O, zoom out, okay. You can see that I got everything in there, and I got the tongue as well. The tongue is just very rough at the moment, so it's because all of them are hidden. But if I want to show one, I can click on this button and I just show it. You can see the teeth are there, and the tongue. Still working on it, still early days. This is a version that I have. This is a more accurate, anatomically accurate version of what I did many years ago. I think the original one that I have in my demo is like probably 10 years old now. I think on 9 years old, but I just wanted to revamp it and make it a bit more accurate, but be more like proper, anatomically correct. And this is one of the attempts at the moment. So, okay. So again, if I want to continue, I can come here, do some work, and then save as. And then I can save it obviously with a different version number, and then I can save on top of this and continue working. Okay, so that is what you have as a set tool. So what you're saving is whatever tool you have in the viewport working this. Now there are other ways to save other things, and it's called projects or set projects. Now when you save a save project, it's a bit tricky because save projects are saving everything you have in the viewport here, plus any tool that you have open here, plus any setup that you have in terms of textures and things selected, and the undo. This bar here is the undo bar. We're gonna go through that later on. So when you open the project, you can continue as it was, and you will still be able to go back to the undos and all that. You can press Ctrl Z to undo, like the classic Ctrl Z, like in Photoshop. You will have the ability to do that, but the files get huge, and sometimes I have very bad luck in the past, and I think I saved some project and they get corrupted. And the files are too big and too difficult to manage, so I prefer just to save here as a save subtool. Okay, how do you save a project? Is you go here into File, and you click here Save As. You see it pops as a save file. You see here File, Save As, and it says Save Project As. Control S. Okay, so you can save here. You can open a project the same way you can just save a set tool here, and then load a tool here. It's the same principle. You see load tool, this one is save tool. Okay, that is the file format. The file format is a proprietary file format called Z2. You can save all the files which are standard like OBJs. You can export OBJs from here. You export. You can export OBJs. You can export FBX, and all software here are standard software in the industry. Oh, sorry, standard file formats in the industry, not software. So those files as well format, you can export them directly from here. But if you want to use the proprietary one, the one that you're going to be working on, then you need to use this. Now, if you export an OBJ from here, or not that, let me undo this. So I will sort out another point. Okay. So if I export from here this, okay, as an OBJ or whatever model I have, then I will not be able to have all the levels. And we're going to talk about levels later on. And the things that are specific for ZBrush will not be saved in an OBJ format. OBJ file format only save geometry, the things you see in the viewport, and UVs, and polypaint, I think. We're going to talk about that as you go along during the years, so don't worry about that for now. So that file format only supports 2 or 3 aspects of what is normal content creation pipeline. Now ZBrush is a bit more specific. They have more things like the levels, the undos and all that. That's their own proprietary file format that you have to save it to. Okay, so you save OBJs, then you will lose some ability to continue working as you left it. So for now, just bear in mind when you're working on your project, you save it as a set tool, and then you open ZBrush and you load it up from here, and then you make Polymesh 3D. You hit the edit button, and then you will be able to continue working as you were. Okay. So I'm gonna go here into, I don't need this. I'm gonna go here into Lightbox, and I'm just gonna, the preferences, initialize ZBrush. I didn't save any of that, so I don't care. So again, Lightbox, you go that there, and I'm gonna go and double click again on this simple model, and then we have this open. Okay. Now let's have a look at this. So we have set tool. This one here has only one subtool, which is just the head. If you want to add eyes and things like that, then you can append them here into this extra slot, and you can add as many as you want. I think there is a limit, but I think it's perhaps in the hundreds. So that is not a problem. Okay. So what do we do next? We're talking about our project as it is. So now let's reinitialize this. Okay. So brush. So initialize. Yes. Now how about you want to just work with something that comes with basic or primitive inside ZBrush. Like for example, if you're in Maya, you will start perhaps with a cone, with a sphere, with a plane, or any other of those called primitive. So here you have the ability to do the same. Okay, so you go here, you click on this button, which is a simple brush, and then this pops up, and you have the ability. You see, you got 2.5D brushes, which we're not gonna cover. We're not gonna work on 2.5D at all, I think. And then here we have 3D meshes. We're going to be working on 3D, okay? So you have the ability to choose a sphere, a cube, cylinder, cone, ring, and all these ones here, a circle, an arrow, a polymesh 3D. All these things are what is called primitive, okay? So if I select the 3D sphere, double click on there, well, double click, just click. I will click and draw, and then I will have the same issue, okay? So I can keep doing again, not good, so I have to press edit. The last one I drew, that's the one that's going to be active. Press Control N, clear the canvas, press F, and I'm back in business again. So I can do this with Alt. Okay, again, remember Alt. Just remember, guys, at some point I'm not gonna be telling you press Alt, click Control Shift, because you will know this. So I will try to remember to do it, but when we are in some weeks ahead, I'm not gonna be doing that perhaps. Okay, so you wanna check the geometry. This is geometry. Okay. And if I say, okay, I like this, I'm gonna start doing something to it, which is normally where you start. You know, you start with something very simple and you start building. Now look at this, we only have 8,000 polygons. That's not much we can do with 8,000 polygons, okay? Remember, this is about the millions of polygons, so the more polygons you have, the more things you will be able to sculpt in your character or create detail in your character. At the moment, this is what's gonna happen. As soon as I click in here, because I use one of the primitive, if I click here, it's going to give me an error. It says, to enable sculpting, please convert this 3D primitive to a Polymesh 3D by pressing the Make Polymesh 3D button in the tool palette. Now, so what is that? Now, because we're using a 3D primitive, the 3D primitive has the ability to be changed on here on the fly. For example, I can go here into, with this one selected, I can go here into, what is the one, initialize. And I can change, for example, the amount of thing is what is it called, the size. I can change the size. I can change the size in Z. I can change the number of divisions because I can make it coarse. I can make it more detailed in there, less detail. You can see. Okay, so I have the ability to do that, and that's because it's called a primitive. Okay, and a primitive allows you to do the changes. Okay, now, to find a comparison point, if you've been playing with Maya, you will be playing at some point with 2, 3 already. Every time you create something in Maya, you will have the ability to change things like this, like the number of division, the scale, the size, and that's called the history. So every time you drag a primitive or a poly modeling tool into your viewport and you start working on it, then you will have the ability to start manipulating the points, the vertex, and the faces, and the edges, and then that stuff gets piled up into like a stack on the history of the object. So as soon as you hit delete history, then you will lose the ability to go back and change things like size, scale, and all that. So the same happened here. So if I'm here and I'm still in primitive mode, I cannot do any sculpting because I don't have the ability to change that because I'm still using this as a primitive. So how do we do that? It says you have to make it and turn into a polymesh 3D. And all you have to do is, with this one selected already, you click this button, polymesh 3D. You click there, look at this. When I click there, look what happened with this menu. Let's see what happens. You click there, okay, and the menu changes. You see, so now I don't have the ability to do those changes. So now, okay, when I click on here, if I zoom in a little bit, and I say, I'm gonna use this brush, which is the standard brush, to do stuff. And then I'm just gonna, by the way guys, just like in just like in Photoshop, if you want to increase the brush size, you press the square bracket up and down. Like right square bracket, you make the brush bigger. Left square bracket, you make the brush smaller. I got as a key sort of sliding thing here into my tablet. So you can do as well here from the raw side. You can change it here. Okay. So if I want to do something, you can see if I want to say, I'm gonna start pulling this thing to the side. So I can click here. Okay, and you see I'm doing something. Okay, but it's looking very coarse because I don't have enough topology. Okay, enough geometry. Okay, so if I'm going into here, I'm just gonna press Ctrl Z to undo this. And then if I want to say, I'm gonna start working and I don't know, I'm gonna turn this into some sort of horns. Okay, there is one brush, you click here. And like, don't worry, we're gonna go through how the brushes work properly later on, but for now, just to get hands-on, just click here and then go into snake hook. And then if I do this and click, you see there's a brush here that is specially designed for this, for horns and things like that, but you can see your appendages. But you can see here that because I did some string stretching, and it's just by clicking and dragging here like that, I am the changes that I did with the topology are so extreme that you actually in the viewport is struggling to draw to keep the original design of the original side to make it look pleasant. So at the moment you can see we stretch one of those little faces too long and you can get this line like that. So that will not work. Okay, so I'm gonna undo that. So you want to do horns. Okay, I think it would be ideal in this case just to have a little bit of symmetry, so we can work whatever we do on the right, it happens on the left automatically. And that concept inside, even in Maya, is called symmetry. You know, in ZBrush as well, it's called symmetry. And you can find it in the menus here by going into, I think it's a stroke, or no, it's stencil, render, texture, tool, transform, and then here there is one button called activate symmetry. Okay, and you can see here, you hover there, you can tell that the active symmetry, the shortcut is X. So you press X, okay, on the keyboard, and you automatically get symmetry. So whatever you do on one side, it happens on the other. Now, the way it happens is by default the symmetry is on X, okay? And the way you know that is because you can see here, these little bars here, these are the axes, okay? In Maya you will see the same here. So the X axis is the red one, the blue axis is the blue one is the Z axis, and one is inside there is called the yellow. Is the Y axis. So X, Y, and Z. Okay. So how do we move this around? How do we know that which one we're using? By default, when you press X, it will always be the X axis. That's going to be by default on. You can see here that I have the brush on the right hand side, and there is a little red dot that is drawn on the left hand side, which means that, hey, whatever you do on this side is going to happen on the other side, and vice versa. If I put it here, then whatever I do on this side is going to happen on the other side. Okay, now you can change this by saying, hey, I want to, by default you see is the X, but you can actually say I want the actual symmetry on the Y axis. So if I uncheck the X and put the Y, it means that whatever I do on the top here is going to happen at the bottom. So you can see here, you can see the dot there, you can see, I can do that. And now I am working on the X axis, this is the Y axis, which is the one that goes inside this. So you got Y like that, X like that, and Z towards the camera, like here. Okay. Do you want to do in the Z axis? You can just go here into transform, and then press the Z, and then uncheck the Y, and you can see that whatever you do in the front happens in the back because we're doing the Z axis. Okay. So I think the shortcut as well here, you can see that the shortcut I think is the same. Y, X, X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna put the X by default. And you can, there's a more fancy one, which is you got the posable, the symmetry, and you got this, which is the radial symmetry, and that's more advanced. We're gonna perhaps talk about them later on. But for now, no. Okay, so we have this here. Okay, now if I use the snake hook here and I try to do something, I can do the same. You see, whatever I do on this side, it happens on the other side. Okay, I'm gonna press shift to snap in the middle, and you can see that. So that's two string, which tell us, say, hey, you don't have enough geometry to do a change that drastic. Okay, so how do we improve that? Now what we can do is we can just go into this section here, and we're going to introduce a new concept. We're over 25 minutes, probably around 5 more minutes. We're going to talk about a little bit about we talk about the primitive, the polymesh 3D, which is the one we're talking about now, and then we talk about save, open, and file formats. And now we're going to talk about one last bit before we move on to the next class, or the next part, which is the subdivision. Now, at the moment, you can see we only have 5,252 polygons, and that's why when we do something that drastic, we cannot accomplish it because we don't have enough geometry. Okay. Well, when I do this, remember, guys, Control Z, just like any other software. Undo. I got it in a button already preset into my graphic tablet. So, how do we do that? So you go here into geometry, and there is a section here called divide. Okay. So you hit this button here, divide. Okay. Once, look at what happened to this number here. So divide, now we have 21,000. Okay, so it's pretty much multiplying 5 by the power of 2. Okay, and then what we had before was 5,000. So now we have 21,000. So we can try. Okay, seems like it's a little bit better. Okay, let's undo that. Let's give it another go. Subdivide. So now look how these numbers increase. These are the subdivision levels. Subdivision levels. Again, now I have 84,000. So let's see what it is with this one. You can see now I can start producing something that's a little bit better. Okay, because now I have 84,000. I'm going to undo that. Now let's give it another go. Look at this number 3. So 4. Now I have 4 subdivision levels. Let's give it a go here now. So, well, okay, you see I can see something that is a little bit better. Still too stretchy because it's too drastic, the changes. Undo that. Let's give it another go. Now we have 1.3 million polygons. Let's see what happened with 1.3 million. You can see now that this is way smoother. Okay, hide this, open again. Let's change the material. I don't like this red material. I hate it. It's horrible. So put this gray material. Okay. So you can see that now I have the ability to have a better representation of what I want to do, and that's because I have 1.3 million polygons. So I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to give it another go. So now I have 5 million polygons. So you remember the panther I showed you? That panther was 11 million polygons. So you can see, because I have 11 million polygons, I can see all those wrinkles, those little pores, those little veins and muscle structures, because I have that amount of polygons in there. How do I create those detail? That's with the brushes, and we're going to cover that another point. But for now, I just want you to understand the concept of subdivision. So if I do this again, now you see this is much better because now I have 5.7 million polygons. And the principle and the way to remember this is just like any Photoshop file. You have a JPEG that is 1024 by 1024 and you're trying to edit it, it's very blocky. And if you have a JPEG that is 8K by 8K or 8196 by 8196, then you will have a lot of detail. And whatever changes you do in painting, you will have some really fine detail because the amount of polygons, the amount of pixels that you have there allows you to create that detail. And the same here is the resolution. The more polygons you have, the higher the resolution you're going to produce. The less polygons is very coarse. So you're going to have to work with that number going up and down. And the good thing about this is that I did these changes like this, and this is the cool stuff. These changes, but then if I say, I can go and click on this button and then go to the lowest level, look. And you see, this is a representation of what it would look like if I had only 5,000 polygons. I go one level up, start getting better, 4, 5, 6. So you can see, I will not lose any of the details, okay? Because I have all those polygons in there, you see. So if I wanted to do something a bit more drastic, like, I don't know, change the shape of this, then I would not be able, I would say, well, I'm gonna change this and make this like a long face. I say, I don't want to do it when I have 5 million polygons, because there's too many polygons to move. I can say I'm gonna go to the lowest, which is the first one. Don't worry about this for now. Just gonna change a new brush, which is the move brush. I'm gonna talk about brushes at some point. So the move brush is somewhere around here. Yeah, move brush. Okay. I'm gonna increase the brush size by increasing with a square bracket up and down, or I can just go here into the draw side and make it big. Then here, I'm just gonna select and drag, get this down like this. Okay. And now you see 5,000, but when I go to the highest, I still have all my detail, you see. So this is the way you're gonna be doing. You're gonna be working on ZBrush this way, pretty much. You're going back and forward, lower part, higher subdivision, lower subdivision, and you're gonna be making changes, pushing and pulling, using all these little brushes to create your concept. Okay. Now there are more other brushes, more advanced, but for now we're gonna stick to just simple ones at the beginning, and then we're gonna build from there. Okay. Now, just remember that this is just a sort of quick introduction. So there's way more to this than just what you see here. So it's way more. So when you save your file, you're gonna save it as a set tool, and then you will be able to open again and then go back up and down. You will be able to work on your detail. Okay. So this is it for now. I think the class is now over 30 minutes, 31 minutes, and I'm gonna stop it now. And then the next part we're gonna start talking a little bit more about all the aspects of ZBrush in terms of the brushes, how things work, how to save. Well, no, we already covered that, but we're gonna cover a little bit more of the things. And then I'm gonna tell you how to introduce subtools in the Z tool that you're working on, and so forth, just to build up a little bit. Now, for now, I just recommend you guys just go and start playing with the brushes. There's tons of tutorials online you can look into. There's so many, especially obviously in YouTube. There's so much stuff in there you can look at. It will be me repeating myself there. But if you want to find out more, then go in there, or you can just use lynda.com, which I believe for you guys will be free because you're a student in Anglia and you should have an account with them. And there's a lot of tutorials as well you can use to improve your skills in there. But for now, I'm gonna stop it here, and then I'm gonna move on into other things a little bit more advanced in the next class. And I think probably that will be like the first week, just for you to play around. Okay. Then we're gonna start working on other things next week. But for now, I think this is it for now. I'm gonna perhaps record one or more 2 parts for this week, and that should be it. Okay. All right, guys. Okay, that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much. All right. Bye bye.